I can. Thanks for being here this morning. Really appreciate it. Getting
Well,
your perspective. I'd be interested to know, Ken, like if there's a a big difference in terms of what you do at practice with the Sledge team compared to what you would do with your, able body team. How do you run practices? Or is there a lot of skill, individual skill development? Scrimmages, small area games, similar, or I'd be interested to know that.
you know what? That's a great question. So we run everything as if this was the highest end national men's and women's team you can have. Every drill is the same. It's hockey, but it's not stand up hockey. So we use a lot of the same drills. You just maybe have to modify parts
Right.
of it because the defenseman can't skate backwards. So another thing that I introduced or we introduced a few year two of the first quad was the idea stole us from Bobby Orr when Bobby Orr blew his knee. I remember him playing the Russians, and he used to come up the ice and angle like a back checker and be skating forward with the guy that he was checking, not backwards, because he couldn't pivot that way. We call it flexing. So our defensemen and our forwards, they're forechecking, go up the ice and flex with good angles. And our team used to, when we first got here, used to turn their backs to everyone and retreat to the front of the net and box out. Well,
Right.
you just get eaten alive that way. So we took a more aggressive approach using this flexing up idea. In stand up, you call it gapping up. We call it flex up just because guys like flexing their muscles. So just came up with that name, and it's caught on. So you know what? We do a practice. We'll go. So we just had a camp here before Christmas. So we have 2 days. In the morning, we'll go first 15 minutes. The goalies will go out with the goalie coach and a couple assistants. They'll do some movement stuff, whatever he wants to do with them, some shots, locations, whatever, puck management, whatever. And we'll take the forwards and the defensemen, and we'll do some skill stuff with them for the first 15 months. Puck handling, little area battles, whatever, passing skills, timing skills with passing. And then we'll just go into regular practices. So we'll go maybe a shooting drill, then we'll get into something. We do a lot of small area battles,
Right.
whether it's in the neutral zone or in a zone somewhere in one of the defensive zone or offensive zone. We'll do a lot of that. The more we can crowd their space, we're finding the better they're going to learn how to handle the puck and handle the pressure and be able to make plays in tough areas. So we do the same stuff that you guys would do with your team. Small area games, battle. The guys love competition, so we always make it red against white, and they're always playing for something, and they eat it up. So I've got great coaches. I got Mike Foligno, who played in the NHL. He's a great coach in the NHL. He's brought some great ideas from that level. Russ Harrington's a coach at York men's team. He's got a good insight into the game, very analytical guy. And Mike Fountain, the former goalie, that our goalie coach, used to play with the Vancouver Canucks and the AHL and played for Team Canada back in the 90s. And I've got a former player, Steve Arsenault, who's a nice addition to our staff this year because he's a former player. He knows the guys personally.
Right.
He knows what would work with them, right? What's going to work, what ideas we have, and how we should approach things. And he has a good feel for the room, and he's been a good addition in terms of that ex-player kind of coach guy, and it's been a good for us. So we've been
Nice.
working well together, and through the quad. So we were in March when 2019. We had just March, I think it was January. Was it no, March 11th. We were in Montreal on a camp. I remember getting on a plane in Montreal, and this was all just COVID was just breaking out, and I thought, holy smoke! And got on that flight, got home. The next day, Alberta shut down, the country shut down, and so we thought, oh well, the hell are we going to start doing? So we started having our weekly hockey talk, we called it. So Tim, to your point about video, so now we started showing video of our games, talking about different plays, etc. Now so we don't lead it anymore. The players lead the whole thing. At our last camp, they took our last games against Korea. We have them broken down into 5 leadership groups, 5 cohorts we call them, and then give them 3 or 4 clips each, and they're supposed to look at those clips, watch them together, talk about the good things that happened, things that could be better, things that need to be improved, and then they present them back to the team. Well, this has been a home run. Coaches, we just sit back now. No, I mean, no. So, it's really worked well. We break the game down as coaches, send them out to 12 clips or whatever it's going to be, 3 or 4 per group. They watch them and they present back, and it's been beautiful. And then we just chime in if they are missing a little piece of it or how that relates to a link in our tactical play. And this is part of them from me personally, because Tim, you've been there, and Tom, I know you're there, and a lot of you people that coach Canadian University College sports. When you're doing that job, you do everything. You recruit, you fundraise, you run practice, you fill the water bottles, you steal tape, you do whatever you got to do to make your practice game run, your team run, right? So for me, when I came here, I have all these supports. I need to use these supports. So this is now, I'm talking about how I've learned to delegate more and more responsibilities, and this is part about giving the players ownership. Christ, we got some of the best veteran players in the world on our club. Let's use those guys with the young guys to mix their ideas together, and it's worked beautifully so far.
But so I was going to ask you about bench management because it went through my mind before, like wasn't sure how many assistant coaches you had, and now you've outlined that and your delegation. How do you run your bench? There's so many different ways. Right. Head coach does nothing but observe. Head coach changes the forwards. Head coach maybe is the D, so changes the D. Somebody on the bench for feedback. Somebody upstairs. Like how do you manage your bench with your assistants?
Well, that's a great point. So I've got too much energy. I can't do nothing. So I have to do something on there. So I'm still at the forwards, and Mike Foligno, he would be like the number 1 assistant. He'll be running the defenseman. And then Russ will be giving individual feedback and making sure that I haven't missed anything with what the other teams are putting on the ice in terms of a matchup if we're matching up. I've gone away from matching up now. I like just to roll the lines. I find we get more out of our team that way. But we'll see how that goes. But so that's it. Then the other guys are upstairs. Stevie's on the video, and Founce, the goalie, guys doing some scoring analysis and watching our goalies and watching their goalies too. He'll do a report with the players before the game about who we're playing and what the goalies' tendencies are. So we involve everybody in this, and Mike Foligno's running a power play. He's done some pretty good stuff there. He's got some good ideas from his NHL days. And we've got some, Russ is doing the penalty kill. So we share it up that way. It's interesting in para hockey and sledge hockey is that in world championships and the Paralympics, we only dress 15 players. So you only dress 3 lines, 4D, 2 goaltenders. And it's unique from that perspective. It's kind of like old school hockey back in the day. So, in that gold medal game I was talking about, 2018, I had lost 2 of the better defensemen in the world, Bowden and Stevie Arsenault, and we played with 2 defensemen the whole third period. And can you imagine doing that in stand-up hockey? I mean, it's great. It'd be in real trouble, right? And we were a goal post away. Had we not hit the goal post, we would have won the game. But so it's unique that way. But I find that in this sport, you can if you can manage the ice time of your key players, you'll get more out of them in the end. And if I had to learn anything from my first quad, I probably overplayed our key horses too much, and we didn't have enough when we got to the gold medal game. We needed the gas. And now that we've got a little bit more depth in our lineup, up front especially, I think we can roll the lines a little bit more and use certain guys in certain situations. So you might not have to use this guy to penalty kill because you got a younger, keener, faster guy to do it, and then this guy can go in the power play, et cetera, et cetera. And so I've had to adjust and learn that, and just how our team's evolved. And just recently, we played the Americans. We split with them, and we rolled all the lines, and it just made me think, you know what? I think we can play with them now.
Ken, I mean, this is from a point of ignorance, but how long would a shift be? I'm not talking about when you played just the 2D for the third period, but like, how long would a shift be, for example?
Well, we try to go with a minute, and it usually ends up around there.
Yeah.
When I first got here, the guy used to stay on the ice for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And I used to get so ticked off at them, but now it's about a minute now, and I don't know about you, Peter, but like even as my state days, whenever we got bogged down, it was because I was overplaying some guys. I found if I could play 3-4 lines all the time, the team was way more energized, way more engaged, and it became a team spiritually, So
yeah,
I
and
think
it's the same thing. Yeah, same thing with sledge hockey.
Yeah. So about a minute. Shifts are about a minute.
Thanks, Ken.
But the idea of bench management is something we've talked about very much at any level, particularly in my case, taking an interest in the women's national team. I think the art of managing that bench to the point where the best players can be at the right time, more functional, is a critical part of achieving a better outcome. So that was a real good point. And I'm really impressed with the importance of biomechanics, Ken. You picked up on that. When you talk about a skating stride, I couldn't imagine, well, what do you mean stride? Because we don't even have a mindset. But when you go to the biomechanics of it, and you fortunately, and I think many of the coaches that are on now, when they were educated back in our day, we were taught fundamental biomechanics and 6 principles, and we had to analyze a skill and break it down, looking at it from the front, the side, and the back, and really make a whole method of development. And you've taken that, and I really want to compliment you for that, because I think in hockey now, they rely on specialists to do the skill work. Like, and I'm not talking just Daryl, who does, I think, what I call tactical specialty. The idea of surfing and the concept of how you interchange positions more freely and scissor more often and learn to get open and learn to set picks. I think Daryl would be a good guy to get a hold of, and I hope the two of you connect, because what he's doing makes sense to me in terms of the direction the game of hockey hasn't gone yet. Ice hockey, for the able-bodied player, it hasn't even gone to the level that we can imagine it could be played. And I think the same would be true of sledge hockey. So